Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Wrap up your workday with the all-new Chickies and Pete's Happy Hour with unbeatable specials weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy half-price orders of Chickies medium tender wings, one of our tasty and delicious pizzas, or an order of mouth-watering hot, cold, or fried shrimp. Plus $3 domestic bottled beers, $5 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. It's the all-new Happy Hour, weekdays, 4 to 6 p.m., only at Chickies and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Now, for a limited time, it's buy one, get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. Buy one, get one free, and enjoy the sweet, delicate flavor of snowy white crab meat. Pair it with one of our handcrafted cocktails like the Stoli Vanilla Creamsicle or the Bourbon Peach Sweet Tea. Top it off with Chicky and Pete's world famous crab fries. Buy one, get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday for a limited time. Restrictions apply only at Chickies and Pete's.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. Live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. After what a wild and busy sports weekend it was, I got to tell you guys, if you are somebody who used this weekend with no Eagles as an opportunity to, go out, run some errands, do some chores, maybe didn't watch as much sports because there was no Eagles on, you missed a lot. It was a wild weekend. And if you missed the Mike Tyson fight on Friday night, you didn't miss much. Everyone will tell you that. So, but hey, we got a lot to get to this hour. I'm going to give you guys my first look at Eagles and Rams. There are some interesting comments from Mike Mayock, former NFL player and executive, I want to get to this hour. Plus, some of my reactions to college football and the NFL and reactions to you guys as well at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Also, a bit of a programming note here on 97.3 ESPN. We will be going to Sixers tonight on 97.3 ESPN coming up at 7:30, and then we will join Sunday night football. Yesterday was Sunday. Monday night football in progress after the Sixers and Heat game. So just a bit of a programming note here on 97.3 ESPN. All right. So there's a couple of programming items for you guys tonight, but we've got to get to some of the different conversation, different news from the weekend because, for a lot of you, I think that we all have looked at the Eagles, and rightfully so, as one of the better teams in the NFL, okay? They're maybe not the best, but they're one of the better teams in the NFL. But there was a huge takeaway from yesterday's games, is that there is starting to be a strong separation between the haves and have-nots in the NFL. Watching the Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday, or if you heard it here on 97.3 ESPN, watching a team like the Bengals lose to the San Diego Chargers, right? Chargers, by the way, won 4 in a row, which is probably the most unspoken winning streak in the league right now. It's absolutely wild. Also, watching the Packers survive against the Bears, watching the Falcons get smoked by the Denver Broncos. All of those games are just a plethora of examples of we are starting to see a separation in the NFL. And when you look at all the teams that won yesterday, almost all of them are playoff teams. Think about that. Almost every game in which a team won, and include the Eagles, okay? Thursday Night Football, Eagles are a potential playoff team. Packers, potential playoff team. Lions, potential playoff team. Vikings, potential playoff team. Dolphins, hoping they're a playoff team. Rams, potential playoff team. The Steelers beating the Ravens, 2 potential playoff teams. Broncos over the Falcons, 2 potential playoff teams. I'm going to assume that the Falcons, by the way, win the NFC South. I think they're pretty much in control of that division, but still. Bills and Chiefs, playoff teams. Chargers over the Bengals. Bengals have pretty much almost officially been eliminated from the playoffs after that loss. And then you get the Seahawks somehow upsetting the 49ers. I mean, I did not see that game going that way. And now you have to question, are the 49ers a playoff team? So now when it comes to the Eagles, as you start looking forward to the haves and the have-nots, especially in the NFC, you have 2 teams that are head and shoulders record-wise above everyone else in the NFC. There are only a handful of teams that are legitimately in contention now for the wild card. And it's in part because the Vikings and the Packers won so many games early in the year that it's making teams like the Rams and the Seahawks and the 49ers and the Bucks look less and less likely they can be playoff teams. And as I said, the Falcons are probably winning the NFC South, so I'm kind of like taking them out of this conversation. And realistically, if Saquon doesn't drop that ball on Monday Night Football, that Eagles-Falcons game is probably way different. But thanks to the Eagles' win on Thursday Night Football, they are undefeated in their division. Thanks to their win on Thursday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles right now are one of only 4 teams in the NFC with 5 or more wins in the conference. That means there are 4 teams that hold a conference tiebreaker right now. Everyone else, not looking so good. Lions, 6-1 in the conference. Eagles, 5-2 in the conference. Falcons, 6-2 in the conference. Washington, 5-2 in the conference. No one else has at least 5 wins in the conference. Everyone else is hanging around or below 500 in the conference. So, as we move further down the line to who is and is not a playoff team, the Eagles have not just established themselves, but other teams have, frankly, removed themselves from the playoff contention conversation. And part of the reason why Philadelphia is in this position is because of what Mike Mayock said on the Believe in Eagles podcast this weekend. Mike Mayock, former NFL player, executive, said this.
If you got a guy like Saquon Barkley and an O-line like the Eagles have, you got to keep at it. You just got to keep chopping wood, and sooner or later that will pay off. And it did in the second half in a big way. When you consistently can run the ball and force them to honor it, it makes Jalen a better quarterback. I was impressed with their ability to stick with the run game, even though they got, 2 of the best wideouts in the league and the tight end. I give them credit for kind of sticking to it.
You got to give them credit for sticking to it. So what does it mean that they are sticking to it? Well, I have a major takeaway from that, and that is this. He mentioned the Eagles' run game. Think about who the teams are who have the best rushing offenses right now. And I'm going to read off this list, and you're going to notice something that all of these teams that I am going to name have in common. You ready? Here are the top rushing teams in the NFL after yesterday's games, not including the teams tonight who are playing on Monday Night Football, the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. I will throw that caveat in there. Ravens, number 1. Eagles, number 2. Commanders, number 3. Lions, number 4. Packers, 95. Cardinals 6. So the top 6 teams in rushing are all teams that have solidified themselves as playoff contenders. If you round out the top 10, the Steelers are 9, the Buffalo Bills are 10. So that means that 8 of the 10 top rushing teams in the NFL are all in the conversation for the playoffs. This is the adjustment going around the NFL right now. Several years ago, the running back was devalued. And when the running back was devalued, there became a hyper emphasis on the passing game, wide receivers, tight ends. We are now seeing the pendulum swing the other direction. And if any of you listen to me long enough here on 97.3 ESPN FM and on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle, Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Monday night. I have been saying for years that sports happen in cycles. Every several years, there's a swing of the pendulum. And sometimes it happens every other year. For example, almost every year, a team that finishes in last place ends up winning a division or making the playoffs as a higher seed. And then every couple of years, you see the rotation back and forth from defense to offensive dominance. And I've been telling you guys for years, there is not a team that has won a championship with a poor or mediocre defense. And I've been telling you guys for years, the more well-rounded teams, they are more likely to make legitimate playoff runs. And right now, I don't think it's a coincidence that the top 6 and 8 of the top 10 teams in the NFL are all among the league leaders in rushing. And by the way, your Philadelphia Eagles are also turning themselves into a very good pass defense. Statistically, the Eagles are top of the league in almost every passing defensive stat. Second fewest passing yards allowed. Philadelphia Eagles are tied for third fewest passing touchdowns allowed. Now, you might be saying, well, who else is on that list, Josh? Well, if you take the other teams that have allowed the fewest passing touchdowns this season, that list includes the Lions, the Steelers, along with the Eagles, Dolphins, a fringe postseason team, 49ers, a fringe postseason team, and the Cardinals, who are right now looks like a postseason team, and the Broncos. They're all at the top of the list. This season has turned into a season about running the ball and defense. You saw it in the Ravens and the Steelers game yesterday. That game was won by the Steelers running the ball and playing defense. Josh Allen's legs won them the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, in part because the Chiefs couldn't run the ball consistently. So the Eagles have not just put themselves in a position to be one of the best teams in the NFC. They're among a handful of teams that are all consistently playing the same style of football. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Biz from Absecon, Jeff from Ocean City. I'll get to both of your texts on the other side. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
Tomorrow on the NBA on ESPN Radio.
Alexander open three. There you got it. And the Thunder have taken the lead.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander leads the Oklahoma City Thunder into San Antonio to face Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. The Thunder at the Spurs. Coverage begins tomorrow at 9 Eastern with tip-off at 9:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the NBA all season long on 97.3 ESPN.
With GMF financing to qualify buyers, excludes Traverse and Corvette, excludes prior sales.
Why wait for Black Friday when the biggest Black Friday sale is going on now all month long at Bennett Chevrolet, where you can save up to 20% and more on your new vehicle? Because Bennett is selling new vehicles at $1,000 below, yes, $1,000 below the real GM supplier employee price. Plus, you keep all the rebates, saving you up to 20%. But of course, there's more with available 0% financing. Looking for used? Bennett's giving a minimum $10,000. A minimum 10 grand for your trade, no matter its condition, towards any pre-owned in stock. Imagine what you'll get for a good trade if Bennett's paying a minimum 10 grand for total junk. Bennett's deals are unbeatable during our Black Friday sales event, and there's never any hassles or sales pressure because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. The best Black Friday sales going on now at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
I got a line.
He got a line.
She got a line.
We got 4 lines. Cricket Nation. Cue finger guns. Really easy. Super stress-free. 5G so fast. Like blazing fast. Games and memes. You'll have a blast. You can get fast 5G across 4 lines. You can get fast 5G across 4 lines. As we discuss, take it from us. We 4 are 1. Cricket Nation.
And only $25 a line. Welcome to more lines. Welcome to Cricket Nation. Smile. You're on Cricket.
Cricket 5G requires a compatible device and is not available everywhere. Discount varies by line. Fees may apply. Terms and restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
The best call to make on game day is ordering catering from the Piccalilli Inn. For parties big or small, the Pick does it all. Your guests will be cheering for the Pick spin on football favorites like pulled pork nachos, cheesesteaks, burgers, and their award-winning buffalo wings, tails, and ears. Get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock and follow the Pick on Facebook or at Piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup.
Lowe's knows that to win the job, pros need the best prices. That's why only at Lowe's, MVP's Pro Rewards members can get a volume discount on eligible orders as low as $1,500 at the Pro Desk. That means you get the prices you need to start any job, small or large. Because Lowe's knows pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. And see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in New Jersey. Terms and conditions apply.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933.
Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for more details. That's MattBlattKiaNJ.com.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
NBA, the Sixers in Miami tonight as they take on the Heat, continuing their road trip that began on Friday with a loss to the Orlando Magic. Sixers have dropped 3 in a row. They're 2-10 on the season. Center Joel Embiid listed as questionable with an illness, and Tyrese Maxey, who will be evaluated this week for a hamstring injury, remains out. NHL, the Flyers are on home ice tonight facing the Colorado Avalanche. Philadelphia has won 3 straight and 4 of their last 5. They're coming off a 5-2 victory Saturday against the Buffalo Sabres, and during this 3-game win streak, they've scored 14 goals. Colorado, led by Nathan McKinnon, he has 33 points to lead the NHL. The Eagles head to Los Angeles Sunday to take on the Rams. Philadelphia at 8-2 on top of the NFC East, riding a 6-game win streak, coming off Thursday's win against Washington. While the Rams, they've won 4 of 5, evening their record to 5-5. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use, at Bruno's Italian Market in Ventnor City for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
Seize the deal.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The big weather story of the week is a strong cold front set to arrive on Thursday, with some rain, wind, and much colder temperatures. Tonight will be mainly clear and chilly. Low temperature descends to 43. 59 tomorrow, cooler overall, mostly sunny with late-day clouds. Could be a rain shower at night. Partly sunny Wednesday, high 62. Again, that chance of rain and wind coming up Thursday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Healthier starts here with Get Covered New Jersey. Open enrollment is happening now. If you need health insurance, get quality, affordable coverage with plan options that fit your life and your budget. 9 in 10 get financial help, and many pay $10 a month or less. All plans provide free preventive care, coverage for prescriptions, emergency services, and more. Enroll by December 31st for January 1st coverage at getcovered.nj.gov.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
They're on the road next 2 weeks. The Rams have a quarterback that's all world if you give him time, Matthew Stafford, and really good receivers. And you got to go out to a different time zone and play them. And then you got to play maybe the most physical run team in the NFL in recent decades in Baltimore, and that sets up a whole different challenge. So I'm excited about the next 2 weeks. I keep saying I want to see what they show, but I think it's time we start giving them some credit.
That was Mike Mayock on the Believe in Eagles podcast. He said a couple of interesting things there. He says we got to give the Eagles credit for where they are, and he says these next 2 weeks, he doesn't deem them as much dangerous as they are interesting. And I think for a lot of us, you came into this season looking at this upcoming couple games as Eagles, I don't know if they can win these games or not. These might be built-in losses. But now after watching what happened this weekend, right? Look, it's not like the Rams dominated New England. They barely won. They won by 6 points, okay? And New England is not a very good football team. The Ravens got exposed against an elite Steelers defense. And so now you come out of this weekend and realize the Eagles are one of the best defenses in football. The Philadelphia Eagles are among the better teams in the NFL. It makes the Rams and Ravens games coming up a little bit more feasible and less like, oh boy, they're not going to win these games. No, you're walking into these games being like, they might win these games. Something to think about as we move down the line here. 609-403-0973. As promised, I want to get to a couple of your guys' messages on the text board. Biz from Absecon chimes in. This is my takeaway from what Mike Mayock is saying is that Hurts is having trouble with his pass progressions and our pass game is suffering. I don't think that's what it is at all, Biz. I know that there is a theory out there that has been propagated by certain people that Jalen Hurts is not good at processing information, that he is too slow. I don't think that's the case, because when you go back and watch who Jalen was during the 2022 season, when you look at who he was in 2019 at Oklahoma, the two best years of his entire NFL and college football careers, he was very decisive. He was very good at processing information. But I think the reason why he was good in those situations wasn't because he is some great so I'm trying to think how to say this without being demeaning to Jalen Hurts, because I'm going to be perfectly clear, guys. I don't think Jalen is in any way a bad quarterback. But like every quarterback, they all have flaws, right? You know, for example, Matthew Stafford is overtly aggressive, and he is a veteran quarterback who sometimes is a little bit too aggressive for his own good, okay? You go over and you can name any quarterback, and I can find a flaw in their game. Patrick Mahomes, he thinks he can make every throw, and because he thinks he can make every throw, that has led him to have a plethora of interceptions this season. He is among the league leaders, not just in interceptions, but turnovers at the quarterback position. Josh Allen, what was his biggest flaw for years? He was overly aggressive. He did not take care of the football. This year, he has incredibly cleaned it up. So, all these quarterbacks have flaws. What is Josh Allen's problem still? He wants to run people over, and it's going to get him hurt just like it did Andrew Luck back in the day, okay? Andrew Luck was a perennial 4,000-yard passing quarterback, but he was so in love with the making of contact and trying to run guys over, it basically damaged his body permanently. So now, what is Jalen Hurts' problem? It's not that he has trouble with pass progressions, Biz Napseek. I think the problem with Jalen is he has trouble making decisions outside the scope of the play that was called. And here's what I mean by that. You go back and watch the Thursday night game. There was a 2nd and 6 late in the first quarter, and the Eagles are driving down the field. And I can see in my mind's eye, Jalen Hurts drops back to pass. And you see him going through his progressions. But then he also feels the pressure coming. Because that play that was called did not have an explicit outlet for him to either dump the ball off to a running back or a tight end, or for him to escape on the run, he didn't know what to do. And so what did he do? He moved to his left instead of stepping up in the pocket. If he would have stepped up in the pocket, he would have had, and if I remember correctly, it was either Goddard or Calcaterra sprinting across the formation. If he steps up in the pocket or moves to his right just a little bit and flicks the ball, he's probably got a first down. But instead, he glides backwards because he knows the pressure is coming and puts himself in harm's way of the pressure, because now he is having to improvise outside the scope of the play. There's a reason why a lot of people say that many of Jalen Hurts' runs are scripted. It's not a coincidence. It's not something that people just say because they want to say something about Jalen Hurts. No, it's because all of the football guru guys, right? The Brian Baldingers, the Greg Cosells, the Emery Hunts, the guys who study tape like psychos, right? You know, the Dan Orlovskis, all of these guys have made the point that there's many times that Jalen Hurts makes plays, and they are predetermined throws. So I don't think, Biz, the problem is that Hurts has trouble with pass progressions. Hurts' problem is that if you don't build in enough options into the play, he is not great at improvisation. The progressions are not the problem, because we have seen when Jalen Hurts is given 3, 4, 5 options on a passing play, 9 times out of 10, he finds the running back or the tight end this season. When they use motion, we have seen Jalen Hurts be extremely accurate. That one pass to Dotson on Thursday Night Football, that's an example of it. They ran motion. He hit him up the left side of the field. He makes a great play, right? You look back at some of the passes, for example, the Devonta Smith catch for the first down on Thursday night. That is an example of a guy who went through 2 options before he saw Smitty screaming across the middle of the field. So what did he do? He went option 1, option 2 not open, but I know my guy is sprinting across the middle. I'm going to step in the pocket. Boom, hits him in stride, first down. So I think the problem with Jalen is it's not that he can't process the pass progressions. I think the problem with Jalen is that he is so hyper committed to running the play that is given him at times. If he's not given the direction to what to do outside of that framework, he is not great in those situations. And by the way, Jalen, quick secret for you guys, Jalen Hurts is not the only quarterback who struggles with this. There's a bunch of quarterbacks in the NFL who struggle at making a play outside of the framework of the pass or run scheme that was called on that specific down. If you watch enough Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Bo Nix, Geno Smith, how about Tua Tagovailoa, right? I get going on this list. There's a ton of quarterbacks in this league that as soon as they get outside the framework of the play, their decision-making is just not good. Realistically, there's only a handful of quarterbacks who are good at improvisation when the play starts falling apart or when their options are unavailable or when the windows close on them on a particular play. You know who those guys are? Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. So let's think about this for a minute. Let's do a little math here, all right? I know math isn't my strong suit, so I'm going to pull up a calculator, all right? So if there's 5 quarterbacks in the league who can do something, and there's 32 starting quarterbacks, that means 15.6% of the NFL is good at troubleshooting when the play doesn't go the way it was designed. So if Jalen Hurts, by this math, is part of the other 84% of the league, so then what makes Jalen better than the rest of the league? Well, again, let's do math. So I put Jalen Hurts in the same category as Stafford, Purdy, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. All right? How about Russell Wilson? We'll throw him into that category. I don't want to put Aaron Rodgers in anything because my analysis of him is a completely different animal right now, so I don't want to play that game with him. But Baker Mayfield. Although Baker Mayfield is good at improvisation, but he's more like Matthew Stafford. It's more like roulette than anything else. It's like you want to hit on black at the roulette table, and you hit on red, and you realize you have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. That's what Baker Mayfield and Matthew Stafford do when they improv. It's not that they're bad at improvisation. It's just that they're either gloriously right or horribly wrong. So let's go back to the list. Geno Smith, Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, we'll say throw him in with Washington, Jordan Love, who, by the way, has had to throw an interception in every game this year. Bet you didn't know that. Sam Darnold. So I just named 10 guys off the top of my head. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else worthy of of mixing into this mixture here. I'll go with Dak Prescott, because Prescott, even though he has made some plays off schedule, I think Dak Prescott is an elite processor of the plays given to him. And I think the coaching staff typically trusts him to process the information at a high level. So I'll put him, so that's 11. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else particularly. Oh, Bo Nix, 12. All right. So let's just go with that. So 12 plus 5. So you have 5 guys who are, let's say it's 6 because we can throw Justin Herbert in there, depending on what you think of Herbert. But we'll just say there's 18 quarterbacks. So there's 18 quarterbacks who are either elite, and then there's the next category. So that means Jalen Hurts is on par with 56% of the league. So that means that 44% of the league is objectively worse than Jalen Hurts. There is specifically 5 guys better than Jalen Hurts. And there's another 12 guys who are basically in the same category. So we have to put into context when we criticize these guys. And I hate having to do these nuanced conversations when I only have 1 hour on the radio. So, and it's not Biz from Absekin's fault. It's a problem we have with sports conversations, is that when you try to explain, you have to get in the nuance. And when you get in the nuance, I understand that some of you listening on 97.3 ESPN FM, some of you who listen on 97.3 ESPN mobile app, you just don't have the patience for those conversations. But I didn't want to ignore Biz from Absekin's text, so I appreciate him from texting in. I do think that, yes, you are right in one sense, that Jalen Hurts' limitations caused the entire offense to suffer. But I don't think it's a trouble with his pass progressions. I think it is his inability to improvise outside of the play structure given to him. All right. Moving on to the next text, 609-403-0973. So Jeff from Ocean City brings up an interesting report to us. He asks, any concerns about this Cowboys-Texans game tonight with the latest news coming out of Dallas? So for those who didn't see, so Fox 4 in Dallas has reported that a large piece of metal has fallen from the Cowboys' ceiling. Now, no one was hurt by this debris falling, but it definitely puts in the question, does a situation like this create any apprehension in the players who are playing in the game? It's a fair conversation. It's a fair conversation to ask, do the players who don't play in this stadium every night, do they look at an incident like that and have that lingering over their mind? They're on a certain part of the field, right? You know, if the debris fell at, let's say, the 40-yard line, do Texan players run along the 40-yard line and every once in a while look up? Is everything okay? Am I safe? That just small window of apprehension, that small window of distraction could make or break this game. Now, let's be realistic. CJ Stroud is way better than Cooper Rush. The Texans have way more talent right now on offense than the Cowboys have on offense. And so I expect the Texans to win this game. Question is, how much do they win the game by? That's the real question. Because if you're someone who's looking at this game tonight and you're saying, hey, I want to put a wager down, or hey, I'm trying to start something in fantasy football, or hey, whatever this scenario is, and you flip on the Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle, and I appreciate all of you who tune in each and every night. What you're going to find out in a game like tonight is that There's a reason why the Texans are favored by 7 or 7.5 in this game. It's because the Cowboys are going to have trouble scoring 20 points tonight. And so even if the Texans only score 24 or 27, Dallas is not going to be able to put up enough points to close that margin. And so debris falling from the ceiling could be a distraction in individual moments, but I think for the entire game, it will not be a problem. I don't anticipate this, drastically changing the game. And I still have to look at this game. And I got to say, my favorite pick for tonight, because it looks like Nico Collins is a full go for this game tonight. I think because Nico Collins is going to play, I think that has a huge factor in this game. How exactly? I'll let you know on the other side. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. We'll get to more of your texts on the other side. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Plus, there was a massive UFC fight on Saturday night at Madison Square Garden. I will react to that. Plus, my biggest takeaway from the college football Saturday games. All that and more coming up on the other side, as well as my picks for Monday Night Football. I'm Josh Hennig, hanging out with you in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2024 season on Sunday Night Football in LA against the Rams.
Hurst under center to Barkley. Barkley across the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Good boy!
Pre-game coverage starts at 7 p.m. with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 8:20. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has been your trusted source for generations, and they are ready to keep you warm all season long. Schedule your heater tune-up today, and if you're ready to upgrade your HVAC system, act now. 0% financing, up to $15,000 for 84 months for qualifying ACE customers with no money down, but only while funds last. So call Broadleaf's today, your local factory-authorized Bryant dealer, for a free quote at 609-390-3907 or visit broadleafs.net. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Oh no, my phone.
Hear that? It's the sound of a skater dropping her phone and smashing it on the ice. Yep, it's definitely broken. But at Verizon, we got you. Black Friday starts now. Trade in any phone, any condition from one of our top brands and get a new Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus on Unlimited Ultimate and Watch 7 and Tab S9 FE 5G. That's up to $1,900 in value. So you'll save big on 3 great gifts. Hurry into Verizon this Black Friday. Service plan required for Watch and Tab. Up to $1,900 value based on phone, watch, and tablet. Trade in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I got a line.
He got a line.
She got a line.
We got 4 lines. Cricket Nation. Q finger guns. Really easy. Super stress-free. 5G so fast. Like blazing fast. Games and memes. You'll have a blast. You can get fast 5G across 4 lines. You can get fast 5G across 4 lines. As we discuss, take it from us. We 4 are 1. Cricket Nation.
And only $25 a line. Welcome to more lines. Welcome to Cricket Nation. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Cricket 5G requires a compatible device and is not available everywhere. Discount varies by line. Fees may apply. Terms and restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know to check that your seats aren't in the visitor section first, before buying tickets.
I'm so excited for this game. I can't believe you got us tickets.
Me too. Wait, are we on the wrong side?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
This is going to be a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Don't get left in the dark. Calvi Electric, a certified Generac dealer, has you covered. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Calvi Electric, the premier electrical contractor serving South Jersey for over 115 years. Visit calvielectric.com today or call 609-345-0151.
ABC Wednesday, country music's biggest night, the CMA Awards. Kicks off with this year's must-see collaboration, Post Malone featuring Chris Stapleton live. With electrifying performances by Lainey Wilson, Shabuzi, Ashley McBride, Luke Bryan, plus Thomas Rhett and Teddy Swims. Woo! Luke Bryan, Peyton Manning, and Lainey Wilson host the CMA Awards live Wednesday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream next day on Hulu.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love.
Hey, Mike Gill, the Nizam's Indian Restaurant on Route 40 in Egg Harbor Township is ready to serve you delicious Indian dishes. NJ.com ranked them as the #2 best restaurant in all of New Jersey, and this just in. It's their Eagles football special. Your table receives free tandoori, spicy chicken wings if the Eagles win for dine-in customers only. Join them for a special lunch buffet, Fridays through Sundays from 11:30 to 3 p.m. Visit thenizams.com for more information.
Lowe's knows that to win the job, pros need the best prices. That's why only at Lowe's, MVP's Pro Rewards members can get a volume discount on eligible orders as low as $1,500 at the Pro Desk. That means you get the prices you need to start any job, small or large. Because Lowe's knows pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
Your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional savings at BMW of Atlantic City. Stop in and shop your favorite models, including the new BMW 2 Series, X3, and more. We're sure to have a vehicle that fits your needs. And with Acceleride, purchase your vehicle online and we'll deliver it directly to you. Looking to trade? We'll pay top dollar for your current vehicle. Experience luxury today at BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think. In Egg Harbor Township, shop our complete inventory online at bmwatlanticcity.com.
The holidays are here at the Home Depot, so let's get to decorating. Find your perfect tree in our huge assortment of shapes, sizes, and styles. Like the easy-to-assemble Jackson Noble fir, with pre-lit branches perfect for styling with all your favorite ornaments. Or the Flock Starry Light Fraser fir, with over 1,900 pre-lit memory wire branches that keep their shape so it's ready right out of the box. Ooh. Find the perfect tree now at the Home Depot.
Doug. Customize and save hundreds on car insurance with Liberty Mutual. After that, you can also save me, as I'm currently hanging from the edge of a cliff. To recap, number 1, customize and save. Number 2, time allowing, save me. Shoulders separating!
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com. Savings may vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Got a leaky pipe? At Ace Hardware Home Services, they're around the block with everything you need to fix it, including the person to do the fixing. Got a furnace issue? They've got a person for that. Because now they're not just the helpful hardware folks, they're also the helpful home services and repair folks. From plumbing to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services, now in South Jersey. They're bringing helpful home. The helpful you love from the store now to your front door. Visit acehardwarehomeservices.com to book your next appointment today.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Just a quick reminder, so Sixers basketball tonight, 7:30 here on 97.3 ESPN. And then we will go to Monday Night Football following the Sixers game It'll probably be around 10 o'clock when we get to the NFL game tonight. That'll be your coverage here on 97.3 ESPN. The Flyers game is over on our sister station, Rock 104.1, and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. All right, so those are your programming notes. By the way, so Embiid is currently warming up, trying to, as Nick Nurse calls it, give it a go, even though he's listed as doubtful with an illness. So 3 minutes ago, we have video from Miami of Joel taking jumpers and free throws. I don't know if that means he's playing or not. So Tom McGinnis will call the action here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, so my picks for tonight, because technology was failing me earlier. That's the real reason why I went to commercial break. if I'm being completely transparent. So tonight, I mentioned that Nico Collins is back. I think that Dallas will be very focused on not letting him beat them. So I think that if you want to go with either Tank Dell or Dalton Schultz for an anytime touchdown tonight, I think that's the way to go. Dell is at plus 200. Dalton Schultz is plus 312. I also like Houston over 24.5 in the game. I don't think this will be a good game for Dallas. I think Dallas could have some problems tonight. I think they are going downhill quickly. So I think Houston is going to be a substantial winner. Dallas might score a couple touchdowns, but I don't think this is going to be a close game at all. And if it is, I'll be shocked. Steve from Ventnor chimes in and says, hey, Josh, thoughts on Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, and Bobby Abreu being finalists for the Hall of Fame? I think they all should be in. Steve, so here's my position on the Hall of Fame. I'm not as extreme as Mike Gill, where I don't think any of these guys should be in. My position has always been, if you're going to put one person in, you got to put somebody else in of equal talent. To me, I look at Jimmy Rollins, and I think of the three guys you mentioned, he is the one that would be most likely to get a vote from me. Number one, he's a National League MVP award winner. That is significant. Winning the MVP award is not something everybody wins. Number two, he finished top 10 in MVP voting in another season. So that means there were multiple times that people considered him one of the best and most important players in baseball. Number three, Jimmy Rollins won 4 Gold Gloves, and they were all either in the prime or after the prime of his career. So he showed you that he is one of the best players in baseball during a time period. He showed you he was one of the best fielding shortstops of his era. And he also showed you that, frankly, he was one of the better players in baseball. This is a guy who led the league multiple times in triples. Of the three guys you mentioned, if I had to pick one to be in the Hall of Fame, it's Jimmy Rollins. I think he has the best resume of the three. I think Bobby Abreu has the worst resume of the three, because Bobby Abreu is what I like to refer to as a stat compiler. Bobby Abreu was a guy who played long enough to hit certain career markers. Like, if Mike Trout retired today, he's in the Hall of Fame. There are Mike Trout numbers that are better than Bobby Abreu, and Abreu played 18 seasons in the major leagues. Bobby Abreu is not a 300 home run hitter. He had some really nice RBI seasons. Okay? He had multiple 100 RBI seasons. But I mean, the doubles, they're good. They're not great. He never won an MVP. He never won a Rookie of the Year. I mean, he's only a 2-time All-Star, for goodness sake. I can't put Bobby. If you want to make the argument that Chase Utley is one of the best second basemen of all time, we can have that conversation another day. Thanks everybody for texting in. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Have a great night, everybody. Sixers basketball, 7:30 tonight.
Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the
For the YouTube-only audience, thanks for staying tuned in here on my show here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. The YouTube-only conversation is going to go directly to the sports I couldn't cover in the last hour. So we're going to do a couple quick hitters before we get out of here. Number one, the opposite of what we saw on Friday night with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul happened at UFC 309. Madison Square Garden. It was arguably the best UFC card of the year. And no, it's not because Donald Trump was there. It was because it was probably the first time this year that almost every fight delivered. Okay? And that's been a problem for the UFC in recent years, especially this calendar year. The UFC has had a lot of fights that have not always delivered. And I think the problem for the mixed martial arts world right now is that we are at a crossroads. There is a generation of fighters who are at the end of their careers, and there's a generation of fighters on the come up. And whenever that happens, MMA kind of gets into this weird situation where fights are not as competitive. You know, we saw this in the MMA world, I want to say about 10 years ago, maybe more like 11 years ago, where the old fighters were becoming old, the young fighters were on the come up, and there was a kind of this purgatory when it came to nobody knows who the best fighters are. Because the problem with mixed martial arts right now is that not all of the best fighters are in the UFC. And it's been a while since we could say that. It's been about 12 years since we could say that. There are fighters in PFL and in Bellator who would be extremely competitive in the UFC. All right? You know, there is guys, for example, and I'm just throwing a name out there, Francis Ngannou. I think he can still be competitive in the UFC. He's out there, right? There are fighters in other organizations who throw a wrench into everything, right? And so when you look at the UFC and you realize that there are fighters out there who would be competitive in the UFC, you know, PFL MMA has Dennis Golsov, right? You know, you look at, I'm trying to remember what the other guy's name is off the top of my head. Who's in the other organization? Brendan Lagerhain. Okay, he's a featherweight, right? He would be extremely competitive in the UFC. And the problem with the UFC right now is almost all of their champions have some sort of flaw in their resume. And so, because of that, a night like Saturday night was very important for the UFC to kind of reestablish themselves. And John Jones being the megastar that he is, okay? If you go through the 10 highest grossing pay-per-views in UFC history, he's on that list. Multiple times. So we knew this Saturday night was going to have a lot of eyeballs. And I thought that Viviane Araújo being Karine Silva was a very big fight for the women's flyweight division. Bo Nickel, he's a rising star in the UFC. He had a strong victory over Paul Craig. And former UFC lightweight champion Charles Oliveira won a very interesting fight with Michael Chandler. And while none of those matchups were finishes, none of them were knockouts or submissions, they were fights that, as a viewer, you were entertained by. You know, as the line from Gladiator, are you not entertained? Well, you were entertained on Saturday night before we got to the main event. And the main event was beyond anyone's expectations. We saw the best version of John Jones that we have seen in 6 years. John Jones has had a lot of problems in his personal life that have impacted his life professionally. For those who don't remember all the details, John Jones And we don't know all the details, and I don't want to dig deep into the man's personal life, okay? I'm not here to do that. I don't care about some of the details, honestly. But John Jones apparently had multiple affairs. John Jones is the guy with Bible verses tattooed on his body. He is a guy who has talked about Jesus and God in the past, but he wasn't walking the talk, okay? And this is a guy who was in a hit and run, almost killed a pregnant woman, fled the scene. This is a man who got in trouble multiple times for cocaine use. And apparently, he was using so much cocaine that he was robbing convenience stores in order to get ED pills. Try to keep this as PG-13 as I can, okay? He was stealing ED pills because he was so cocained out of his mind that you could figure out the rest, okay? His life was in complete disarray. And then he fails PED tests. He fails drug tests. He gets suspended from fighting in all of MMA. His life goes totally sideways. So when the news came out that he was going to return to fighting and move up to heavyweight, there was a lot of speculation. Well, what's John going to look like? What is he going to look like, at a larger weight class? Has everything that happened in his personal life, the legal issues, the drug issues, the controversies, the hit and run, right? The cocaine. There was a domestic violence arrest in the middle of all this, right? There was so much going on in John Jones's personal life. And he failed drug tests. Multiple drug tests, by the way. I believe it was 4, if I remember correctly. So this man has basically been through it all. What a crazy life he has lived. What a tumultuous life he has lived. So when John Jones went 3 years without a mixed martial arts fight, and he returns to fight for the vacant UFC heavyweight championship, we had no idea what version of John Jones we were getting. And even though John Jones won that fight against Cyril Gane, the only thing he proved is that he is still one of the most gifted athletes to ever compete in MMA. So then when he got booked to fight Stipe Miocic, who is considered by many to be one of the greatest heavyweights in MMA history, the question was, can John Jones keep being successful just on talent alone when he fights a higher level of competition? Because before John Jones received that suspension that kept him out of sport for what ended up being 3 years, he was barely beating guys who were inferior competition. Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith. These are guys who were not elite light heavyweights, but he was beating them just on the sheer ability that he has as an athlete. Not because he was executing at a high level. We had not seen John Jones, the dominant fighter, since 2018, when he knocked out Alexander Gustafsson in their rematch. And even before that fight, there were questions about John Jones because of all the drug failures and the legal issues, because he was not dominating many of his opponents. In fact, outside of the Gustafsson knockout, you got to go back to 2013 for the last time that he completely dominated somebody. So there were 5 years in between dominant finishes, I should say, because you could argue the matchup against Daniel Cormier at UFC 182 was a dominant performance. But what we saw Saturday night was vintage John Jones. It was a vintage moment to see one of the greatest mixed martial art fighters in the history of the sport, which at this point goes back 32 years, okay? What you know as mixed martial arts as a sport is something that goes back 32 years as a sanctioned entity. And John Jones showed the focus, the precision, the tenacity, I am here to do my job and I am going to take care of business that I hadn't seen in many years. When John Jones walked into that octagon and looked at Stipe Miocic on Saturday night, he was a man with a plan. I did not see that in years past against a Dominic Reyes or Thiago Santos or an Anthony Smith. I did not see a man who went into a match with the level of confidence that he had on Saturday night. He made one of the greatest heavyweights in the history of the UFC look slow, look out of date, looked past his expiration date, whatever you want to call it. John went out there with a specific mission that he was going to do everything better than Stipe Miocic, to the point where you found out after the fight that John Jones had been training certain kicks for months just for this matchup. And he used one of those kicks to put Stipe Miocic down and finish the fight. And it was not a head kick. It was a spinning heel kick to the body. A type of strike that takes a level of precision that I would argue that 80% of mixed martial artists cannot do. And he executed that strike multiple times on the night. And he won the fight. And he gives the UFC championship belt to the president-elect Donald Trump. A man who had been accused in years past of having one of the most grotesque egos in the history of the sport. A man who thought he was God's gift to the sport at times. Literally gave away the most coveted trophy in the UFC to a man who has no need for it. And no offense to President Trump, I'm sure that he gave that belt to somebody, and that belt is never going to be seen again. And the UFC is going to have to make a new belt for John Jones. So, the point being, we saw one of the greats return in the sport on Saturday night. And he did not get on that mic and brag about how he's the greatest thing that ever happened. He didn't brag about how much of a loser Stipe Miocic is. He didn't talk down to anyone. He was humble. He talked about how he was blessed. He thanked Jesus Christ. He did all the, I'm thankful to the UFC. I'm thankful to God. I'm thankful. And it was the first time that John Jones, in 12 years, looked and sounded like a great fighter. He also broke the record for the most title defenses in UFC history on Saturday night. And now you have a man at 37 years old who most people thought he was well removed, years removed, maybe a decade removed from his prime, who just took out a high-level fighter. And now he gets to bring a new level of credibility to the sport. Because if he takes on the next two opponents on the list, Tom Aspinall is the interim heavyweight champion when John Jones was injured last time. They want to unify the belts. Alex Pereira, there's rumored talk about him versus John Jones. John Jones, the former light heavyweight champion. Alex Pereira, the current light heavyweight champion. Pereira himself, a two-division champion like John Jones. Could we see that matchup? That would be a mega fight that would probably happen, I would assume, next summer. Just putting it on a timetable. John Jones being back brings a new level of credibility to the sport. It is the rise of greatness, and it shows you that if you just work hard and you commit yourself, you can take your talent to exponential levels. I've always said on here, on my show, on my YouTube channel, at Josh Hennig, for years and years and years. The saying goes, talent beats hard work every time talent doesn't work hard. There were years that John Jones was getting by on just his talent. And for the first time in 6 years, he looked focused. And for the first time in a decade, he looked 100% committed to his profession. And that is great news for the UFC, because in a sport where megastars and superstars are absolutely necessary, nobody cares if nobody knows who the guy fighting or the woman fighting is. Ronda Rousey was popular because everyone knew who she was. Was she the greatest women's fighter of all time? Absolutely not. But people knew who she was. And they capitalized on that for as long as they could. Today, almost nobody knows who the women's champion is. Almost nobody knows who the best woman on the planet is. But they know who Ronda Rousey is. It doesn't matter that Valentina Shevchenko is 10 times better than Ronda Rousey. It doesn't matter that Juliana Pena is better than Ronda Rousey. It doesn't matter that Zhang Wei Li, easy for me to say, that how gifted she is. Nobody knows who they are. So in a sport where, if I was to go through the list of UFC champions, okay, I would say that flyweight, featherweight, definitely featherweight, bantamweight, welterweight, and middleweight in the men's division. And then, what's it? Zhang Wei Li, Valentina Shevchenko, and Juliana Pena. So 8 of the UFC's 11 belt holders, nobody knows who they are outside of the diehards of the sport. That's a problem. Because at the end of the day, marketing is all about who people recognize. And because the UFC has gotten away from the old business model, which is they would build up people's pedigree, they would build up resumes, they would market people as the best in the world, they've moved away from that strategy. They're more focused on other business practices and marketing strategies. So it's more important than ever for John Jones to be great again for as long as possible. And if he can beat 2 more fighters in the next 12 months, let's say, and that's very doable because in mixed martial arts, fighting twice a year is not crazy. So let's say he was to fight Tom Aspinall, let's say in March. I'm just throwing out a date right now. And he fought Alex Pereira then in August, let's say. That brings a whole nother level of visibility, a whole nother credibility to the sport. And then at that point, he could retire and nobody would care. Because he took the sport, uplifted it again. Now, I'm not saying he's going to retire at 38 years old or 39 years old. I don't know what his future is. But remember, star power is everything in sports. You care about Michael Jordan's shoes because of who Michael Jordan is. You care about who LeBron James is because his name is LeBron. But guess what? Jonathan Isaac actually has a better shoe line than Michael Jordan does. But nobody cares because he's Jonathan Isaac and the other guy's Michael Jordan. Name recognition and marketing matters. And for a sport like mixed martial arts, they need John Jones now more than ever. Because at this point, I don't know if Conor McGregor's ever going to fight again. Alex Pereira is a rising star. But there's nobody out there not named John Jones who's going to help him elevate his marquee. The UFC needs Sean O'Malley to return from his injury because he is a star. And they need a rematch with Davishvili and him at this point. And realistically, the fact that Max Holloway is not a champion at featherweight anymore hurts the organization visibility. It hurts the organization that neither Justin Gaethje or Michael Chandler have been able to capitalize on their opportunities to rise up the ranks of lightweight. And realistically, in the women's division, as I said, Valentina Shevchenko should be way more popular. But she doesn't have the marketability, the name recognition. And really the only two women in the, how do I put this? The only two women that people care about right now who don't have belts are Kayla Harrison, because she's a former Olympic champion and former PFL champion, and Alexa Grasso, because Grasso is a fun and vibrant and extroverted personality. There's not a lot of options in MMA right now. And as the UFC goes through this transition, they need people like John Jones to be at the top of the card more often than not. They need him to be out there. They need him to be visible. They literally need to pay John Jones to show up to every fight night. They need John Jones to be on every interview he can be on, every platform he can be on. They got to capitalize on this because at the end of the day, the UFC only has a future beyond the die-hard, dedicated fan base if they have star power at the top of their fight cards. And like any sport, nobody cares about fill in the blank without stars. If a star tennis player like Novak Djokovic doesn't win the US Open, most people don't care. If LeBron James or Steph Curry are not in the NBA Finals, most people don't care. The ratings show it. I see the TV ratings all the time. People are drawn to big names and star power. It doesn't matter that Missouri and South Carolina was a great game on Saturday in college football. Nobody cared. Everyone watched Georgia, Tennessee. Why? Name brands. The only reason why people care about this Saturday's game with Ohio State and Indiana is because it's Ohio State involved in it. If it was Indiana and Iowa, nobody would care. All right. I ranted enough about the topic. I got to get back to my job, my real job that's not on the microphone. I'm Josh Hennig. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. And I'll catch you tomorrow on 97.3. I got it right this time. 97.3 ESPN FM right here on my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, everyone.